welcome to Learn Free Music Theory lesson number 50! Woo! So, in this lesson, it's not a lesson, it is an exam. So, this is exam level 3. So you guys have probably done the other 2 exams, so I probably don't need to explain it as much as I did in the previous ones. We're going to do pretty much the same format as before, with me drawing out an example, or not an example, some questions, and then you guys have to write them down on your sheet of paper and then solve them. And then what happens is, as we get to the end of the video, then I show you the completed versions, and then you guys go back and forth and you check it, and then you see where you lost marks or gained marks, and then at the end you get to see your grade. Now, just remember though that, you know, this whole thing, this process, what is an exam or what is a test? A test or an exam, like what kind of feeling does that make you feel? Some people it's like, oh, it's an exam or a test, and they get all like intense and worried, and like really, what is a test? Is it something to be negative or scared about, or is it something that you should be, you know, just interested in doing? You know, my dad actually said that the only real way that you can fail a test is if you don't ever try it, and you just are too afraid or too scared to try. And he was saying that a test is actually not something to be worried about, but it actually shows you or a good test is designed to show you where you actually are at, where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are, and what you can improve on and what you could, you've already learned very well. So if you look at this test here as an example, or not an example, as a tool to basically find your strengths, find your weaknesses, and then when you know where those are, then you can go back and you can go into those weak areas that you might have or don't have, it doesn't matter, and go back and relearn those things even better and better and better until you understand it even better than the other parts. Because if you want to be very good at theory, you want to be strong in every single way, right? So think of this test as a way for you to find out, okay, what areas do I know and what areas don't I know, okay? There's no real, you know, nervousness about it. It's really, you should go into a test or an exam with the feeling like, okay, now I get to find out the truth of, you know, how good am I at this? Now, some people, you know, they might feel really unprepared and they didn't do very much work, and then that's when you get nervous because you know deep down inside you're like, yeah, the truth is I'm not very good at this. I didn't put in the time and I'm not going to do very well, so I'll be lucky if I even get anywhere on it. And then when you think like that, then you've sort of defeated the purpose of the test in the first place, because the purpose of the test is to show you and show others how well do you know this. If you already know that you aren't going to be able to do it that well, then there's really, you know, that's kind of on your own shoulders. So, and that's not really how true learners or people that are really interested in learning take that that course on, right? If you really want to do well in something, the most important thing is you need to take an interest in it, and you need to be excited about it and really want to know it. You have to make it your own personal goal to learn those things. And you can have the best teacher in the world, but if you yourself don't want to learn, then you will not probably do very well. Whereas you could have a pretty bad teacher, but you could be extremely, extremely interested in the topic, and you'd probably do better than someone who had a better teacher but wasn't really that interested. So if you want to keep going on and furthering this stuff, the most important thing to do is always take it upon yourself and take that onus and be interested in the topic and do the best that you can and try to learn it all, everything that you can, and be very like a sponge, soaking up every little piece of information, all the concepts, put them all into a big, huge world map of how everything looks. And if you can do that, you can actually go very far, even if you start off in a, you know, very small or kind of unconnected city or town, and, you know, you really want to get into music, but you just don't feel like you can. The good news is that if you try very, very hard and you put lots of work into it and you're determined, that you will be able to learn it, as long as you you know, seek out those materials, the books and everything like that. So anyway, I don't know how I got onto that topic, but I just wanted to let you know that this exam is a tool. It's not something to beat yourself down over. And if you got a good mark at the end, then you can be excited and be like, yay, I learned it, good. And if you didn't, then it's like, okay, I didn't learn it, so now where do I go from here? So, alright, now, let's get into the very first example. Okay, so first up, we've got the good old terms. So as you can see, this is the mark amount allocated for this this test here. So out of this one, a possible is 10 marks that you can get from it. There are 10 terms here, and you have to fill out the opposite side that's blank. So suddenly is matched with, and agito is matched with this. Slowly is what? So you're going back and forth. This way you guys are tested on both sides. So hopefully you guys know those. And for every one that you get wrong, take off 1 mark. And try not to cheat. But, you know, that's up to yourself because I can't really stop you. But just do your best, and yeah. We'll see at the end part of this video if you got it right or wrong. Alright, so I'll see you in the next one. Okay guys, so here's our next little test. So remember, write this down. Okay, so this one's the rhythm. So we're going to start up here, and I've written this thing out here for you. So what your goal here is, you can get 10 marks on it, and what you need to do is first add a time signature. Time signature is worth 2 marks. If you get that right, you get 2 marks. Next thing is you need to get all the pulses and the main beats of the rhythm. So maybe this is a hybrid time signature. Ooh. So you need to put in the time signature, and then you have to write in the main beats, and then you have to write in the pulses. And so for every mistake you make with the wrong beats, take 2 marks off. And every mistake you make with the pulses, take 1 mark off. Okay? So pulses should be in here or something like this. I know the rhythm isn't totally regular, so you might want to put, I'm not going to be so sticklerish about in there because it's going to be displaced obviously. But anyway, so yeah, that's this part here. Okay, so see if you can get 10 out of 10 on it. Next up, we have find 5 syncopations. It's like where's Waldo, except it's syncopations. So 10 marks in here as well. Now, so this, I've already put a time signature. So what you're going to do is you're going to write out the beats and the counting underneath. Okay, and then you need to find and circle 5 syncopations. For every syncopation that you miss, you lose 2 marks. The counting, writing it in, is just optional. You can do it if you want to, but it'll really help you find out where those strong and weak beats are. Remember that compound time is in what? Groups of 3, right? So the strong beat occurs anyway, I'm not going to say any more. If you guys aren't sure, go back and review a lesson and then try this part. Okay, so find 5. Alright, next one. Okay guys, so the next one we're doing is intervals. Don't you love intervals? Okay, so on the top, by the way, each one of these things is worth 5, and each question is worth 1 mark. Okay, so name and invert. So you're going to first name the first interval, so whatever that's going to be, and then you need to invert it. So hopefully you guys remember how to do that. So there's going to be 5 of them, and so remember, actually I probably shouldn't say, I'm not going to say how you invert them. I'll let you guys figure that out. Okay, so each one is worth 5, so name and invert it. Next up, we have complete the compound intervals. So I have a starting note here, and I say I want a major 10th. So you need to write a major 10th. So find out where that's going to be and put it above there. Here, find a perfect 12th, minor 9th, augmented 11th, and a diminished 12th. So anyway, yeah. So I hope that works with you guys, and or not works with you guys, but that you guys remember how to do everything and that it's easy enough for you, go smoothly. And yeah, I think that's about it. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Okay guys, so here's the next one, and this one is on cadences. So here, first we have name 3 types of imperfect cadences. So those are the chord progression numbers. So, you know, using chord 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Any one of those. And we went over those in the previous video. Remember I showed you the examples? So I want you to name, write out the chord progressions for 3 of them. Okay? How to write 3 different you don't actually have to write the cadence, just write the chord progression numbers for the imperfect cadence. And then over here, we're going to draw an imperfect cadence, and it has to be a 1-5 using accidentals in A flat major in 2-2 time. And so it must have a common tone, and it must have at least one contrary moving voice. Okay? Alright, so, and that one is worth 15 marks, because this is a very important exercise. Doing cadence writing and all that other stuff is important. So make sure that you have your stems going in the right directions, and all the voice leading is nice, and all that other stuff. So, let's move along to the next one. Make sure you write that down and draw that out. Okay, let's move along. Okay guys, so here the next one is scores and sort of a little bit on transposition as well, if you get what I mean. Hint, hint, hint. Okay, so we have 2 questions up top and then a big main one here, and I forgot to write how much it was worth. It's worth 15 marks. Okay, so name the 4 voices. So I can't really hint at it, but name the 4 voices. Write them out, okay? Next one, what interval would you transpose the E flat clarinet into? Or what does it have to be transposed by? What is the interval that you have to transpose anything that you write E flat clarinet with? Okay? So think back to that video and think of what the interval is. Is it up or down, and how much is it? Okay, now, we're also covering expanding scores, right? So in this one, we're going to rewrite this little thing here that I drew up. I'm not really sure if it sounds that great. You could try playing it if you want, but I didn't actually listen to it, so I just kind of quickly drew it out as an example of something written in 4-part sort of harmony. And okay, so it's written in what key? You could try to figuring out what key it's in is probably a good idea. So we've got B flat trumpet playing the top part, and I'm not using the voice because I want you guys to answer that first, right? And then this one here, and then this one here, and this one here, and the bottom voice. So we're gonna expand this into a 4-part voice score, right? And it's gonna be the one where it's 2 treble clefs, then a alto, and then a bass, right? Probably. Hint, hint. Because this isn't a vocal score, okay? So anyway, I think that wasn't really too much to give away. Anyway. Alright, so I'm going to erase this part and then draw in the expanded place because there wasn't enough room to do both, obviously. I wouldn't be like, okay, can you see that, guys? So anyway, I'll just rewrite this thing and I'll write the answers up in the top there. Okay, so I'll see you guys in the next part. And for the last part of this exam, we're going to do a chord recognition and building and also scale recognition. Okay, so each one of these is going to be worth 10. Each one of these questions is worth 5 marks, and down here, 2 marks for each one of these 5 questions, and then there's 2 questions here, and each one of those is worth 5 marks. So up top we have E major 5, 6, 7. So we have a E major 5, 6, 7 chord. So what I want you to do is write out the letter name. You don't have to write out notes really. If you want to, you can. But just write out the letter names in the order that they would need to go for that inversion. So with the sharps or flats wherever they apply. So think of the key signature of E major, and so for example, if I said C major 1, you would write C, E, G. Okay? Or if I put C 5, 7, you'd put C, E, G, C major 5, 7 is actually G, B, D, F. Okay, so you'd write those letter names up, stacked on top of each other. And so that's what you're going to do. So this is E major 5, 6, 7, G minor 7 diminished 4, 2. We have B major, that one's kind of hard to read, but that's a B. B major, anyway, that's horrible. There we go. B major 5, 4, 3, a D major 5, 7 chord, and not D major, D minor 5, 7 chord, D flat major 7 diminished 7 chord. Okay, so I want you to write out those, just stack them up on top like that. Okay, for each one that you get wrong, you get 2 marks taken off. Okay, here, scales. So I wrote out the letter name because, this isn't like note reading class, this is find what scale is this, okay? So all the different scale types that we learned all over the time, which ones are these? So this one, you know, figure out what it is. So it's going B, B flat, C, E flat, F, A flat, okay? So figure out what type of scale that is and then name it right here. And then here, figure out what type of scale this is. It goes A, C, D, D sharp, E, G, and then A. Although A really isn't really part of it, it's just finishing it off, okay? I'll just tell you that much. Okay, so this concludes the part where we're talking about all the, you know, exam parts. Now we're gonna go on and we're gonna do all the parts where you get to check your answers and check your work and see what kind of marks you got. All right, so let's do this. Okay, guys. So here's the answers for the terms. So in red is the correct answer. So subito is suddenly. Agito is agitated. Langsam is slowly. Vite is fast. Legier, I think, is light. Ruhig is quietly. Forzando is suddenly strong on a single note or chord. So that's SF in the sheet music, and it's spelled SFORZANDO. Now, if you wrote the SF and you knew it's forzando, then I'll give that one to you, right? Or if you just wrote forzando, that's right as well. Either one is correct, really. Ideal would be to have both of them, but the idea here is that you know the terminology, not that you can, I don't know. If you just put in the SF and you did it the right way, knowing that that's what it means and it actually is a forzando, then you can give yourself that right. If however you said, oh, it's SF but I can't remember what it's actually called, then you get it wrong, okay? So you can be up to yourself, you know, be honest with yourself and be fair, because it doesn't do you any good to cheat on it, since you're not getting like a certificate or anything. You just, this is for your own knowledge, right? Okay, next up, dolent is sadly, and primu goes with first, the upper part of a duet, and then schnell, fast and quick. Now, I realize that there might have been a mix-up here between the fast and the fast and quick. That's why I had these ones on the left side. So you guys should know that the definitions are these, okay? If I had put like fast and fast, it would be like, well, which one do I put where, right? So that's why I put them on the left side. Anyway, other than that, that's the terms. So mark yourself at a 10 on this and we'll go on to the next one. Okay guys, here's the answers for the rhythm. So for the rhythm here, we have, up at the top, the time signature is 9/8 time. And as you know, this can be either a compound time signature or a hybrid triple time signature. Now how do you tell? The groupings. So the groupings should definitely tell you what type of time signature it is. So you'd write hybrid triple time, 9/8 time, describing what it is, and then writing the main beats above. And as you can see, I'm using an alternating style, not one where it just keeps going. It's alternating back and forth between where the main beat is. And I forgot to add a little dot here by accident. Oops, right here. That should be there. I was going a bit too quick there. Anyway, so we have the dot in the first part, then it's in the second, then the first, and then the second. So it's just going back and forth. And if you count the groupings, it should be actually pretty obvious. A good way to start out is actually by writing the pulses first, and then you can actually see how the grouping is working. So you can go 3, 2, 2, 3, or then 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, like that. So you'd write that all out, and so for every mistake you got, take off a mark. Hopefully you didn't do too bad. This is going to be either a hit or miss. Someone's ripping around in the truck, I guess. Anyway, so this is sort of going to be a hit or miss one, because if you kind of mess up here, you know, and you mess this up, you're probably going to get the rest of it wrong. So it really requires lots of careful thought. And same thing, if you're in an exam, you want to make sure that you do it right. You always want to be, you know, do you understand what's going on, and are you absolutely 100% sure that this is that right answer? So hopefully you got that right. Okay, next one, looking for the syncopations. So let's go through this. So it's 6/8 time. I didn't bother writing the counting in. But just remember that syncopations come in on the weak beats, right? So, or their displaced notes. Remember all the different ways I showed you how you can get a syncopation? Yeah. So, to start off with, we have a short note followed by a long note, and then short notes after. So that's a syncopation right here on beat 2. Okay. Then we have a tie, which is another way we can get a syncopation, coming in on the 6th beat of the end of the bar, tying into the next bar. So this is another syncopation. So there's 2 so far. The next one is we can have accents on weak beats, becoming a syncopation. So here on beat 4, which is weak as well, because it goes strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak, strong, weak, weak, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. So this is a weak beat, having an accent on it, and it's longer too, so that's a syncopation as well. Then here we have, again, short notes with a longer note in the middle, followed by short notes around it on the weak beat. So we have 1, so it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right there, there's our syncopation. Next up, this one's sort of like a minor one. I'm not sure if a lot of people would have seen that one. Next up here, this is a tie at the end of the 16th note here, which ties onto the weak beat, or sorry, the strong beat, the 3. So, or not the 3, the 4, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 5 and 6 are just rests, and so here, this is your strong beat, and it's coming in earlier, just like this did. So as you can see, I didn't use a whole bunch of different ways to do these syncopations. It's just a couple of the same style, and seeing if you guys could find them. So hopefully you guys did find them, and for each one that you got wrong, make sure to knock 2 marks off your 10 out of 10. So each one of these finding is worth 2 marks basically. Alright, so let's move on to the next one. Okay guys, so we've got the answers here for the intervals. Alright, so we have, starting up here, we have a minor third, and then it's being inverted to a major 6th. Now notice here though, I went down, I moved the E down an octave. You can actually leave the E where it is and then move the C up, because either way you're inverting the interval. So the important thing, if you guys put it, if one of you put it up, that's still right as long as it's the right interval type and it's a major 6th, because there's only one right answer for that. But you could put it up or down, okay? I put it down just for that reason, whatever. Either way, if I put it up or down, I was going to be in ledger lines. Generally, you try to avoid the ledger lines because they're harder to read. Unless you want it to sound like that for the piece that you're composing, or however you're doing it. Okay, so moving along, same thing goes for the rest of them, of course. So minor 2nd to major 7th, okay? So I put the B up. Next, augmented 4th to diminished 5th. So what you're noticing is that, see, anything that's augmented is now diminished. Anything that is augmented is diminished. If it's like a perfect, it's going to stay. If it's major, when you flip it around, it's going to be minor. It's always going back and forth. So it's minor to major, major to minor, diminished to augmented, augmented to diminished. So it's always flipping back and forth whenever you do an inversion. Okay, and also the number. So the 2 numbers always equal up to 9. Look, 3 plus 6 is 9. 2 plus 7 is 9. 4 plus 5 is 9. 5 plus 4 is 9. 8 plus 1 is 9. Oh. So when you do an inversion, in basic intervals, not compound of course, it always adds up to 9. Okay? Alright, next up, so it's an augmented 5th to a diminished 4th. So the B goes down, okay? Over here we have a perfect 8th going to a perfect 1st. Now I did this one to kind of make you guys scratch your head a little bit. So I wonder if anyone got that right. Basically you want to move one down or the other up, because that's how it works, right? The lower one goes up or the upper one goes down when you invert. So it's always going to go to the same note, okay? So, and again, look, this adds up to 9. 8 plus 1 is 9. So, now there should probably be 2 of them really close together. When you have a perfect 1st, it can also be called a perfect unison. Okay? And so this would be the right answer. I just put 1 because there wasn't enough room to put a second one. And I didn't want it to draw out more. I know I'm lazy. Anyway, okay. So those are the intervals there. And anyone that you made a mistake on, just take 1 note off, or 1 mark off. Alright, okay, let's move along to the next line. So this is now the compound intervals. So I said I want a major 10th starting on F. So you have to supply me with a A. Okay, next we have perfect 12th on E. Where will we go? Where did we go to? B. Okay, I'm going to stop that voice. Alright, next we have minor ninth, and that's an A flat, okay? And it's going up to a B double flat. Now, if any of you put A, that's the wrong answer, because why? It's not a ninth. If I count the spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if I get to A, then it's basically an eighth. Now, if it's a minor ninth, it has to look like on paper 9 steps up, right? 9 notes up, but it is theoretically still playing the same note or pitch, A, because a B double flat is still an A, but it has to be written this way. So if you wrote it with an A, it's wrong. Sorry. Okay, anyway, don't worry too much if you got that wrong. It's not that big of a deal. It's sort of a little tricky thing that I slipped in there to see if I could catch you guys on that. Next up, we have augmented 11th. So it's starting on a G sharp, and it's going up to here, a double sharp, okay, double C sharp. Next up, we have a diminished 12th, starting on D flat, it's an A, okay? So there you go, those are the answers. So if you got any of those wrong, take 1 mark off for each one that you got wrong. All right, so let's move along to the next one. Okay, so here's the answers for the cadences. So over here we have the 3 different ones. We have 1 to 5, 2 to 5, and 4 to 5. So if you got all 3 right, give yourself 5 out of 5. If you got 1 wrong, take 3 marks off, and for each extra one you got wrong, take an additional mark off. So if you got 2 out of 3, you get 2 out of 5. If you got 1 out of 3, you get 1 out of 5. And if you got all 3 wrong, you get 0 out of 5. Okay, now next up, we have cadences over here, the cadence that we're going to draw out. So notice how I've got my contrary motion as this voice is going down, this voice is going down, this voice is going up, and I also have a common tone going across. If you didn't have your common tone, then you have to take 10 marks off your cadence if you didn't have a common tone and a contrary motion. If you had one or the other, take 5 marks off for each one that you didn't have. So if you don't have a common tone and you have just contrary motion, take 10 marks or 5 marks off. If you have both of them wrong, take 10 marks off. But chances are, if you also didn't have both of those, then you actually, you know what? I think you should just fail if you don't have contrary motion and common tone. So how it's going to be worth is common tone is worth 5 marks and contrary motion is worth 10 marks. So if you missed your contrary motion, then take 10 marks off your score, and you still get 5 marks if you still have a common tone. And keep in mind that's with all the stems need to be in the right direction, and they can't be more than an octave apart, right? The voices. Voice leading should be smooth. Yeah. And also all the flats and sharps. If you had a common tone and contrary motion, and then say you got a little note error, like say a stem was going up and it should be going down, or you didn't have a flat, take 1 mark off for each one of those mess ups. Okay? Alright. So that's this one. I know it's pretty brutal with the common tone and the contrary motion, but if you don't have a contrary motion and you don't have a common tone, you actually don't have really a cadence. That would fail. You wouldn't get any marks on it. So yeah, that's why I have to be so brutal with it, is I really got to drill that into you that you have to have those, especially the contrary motion. And the common tone's good too, but you can definitely get contrary motion and common tone as I showed you right here. So you just had to think about it. Hopefully you got it though. If you didn't though, that's fine, because this stuff is covered a lot more in harmony, and you'll get more practice with it. My voice is getting a little bit hoarse because I've been doing all the videos so much lately. But anyway, okay, so here, yeah, you'll get more practice with it if you go on and you do harmony. So if you want to go on and do harmony, you got to practice this a lot, because you're going to be doing it all the time. Anyway, Okay, moving along now, let's go to the next one. Okay guys, and here's the answers for the scores and transposition section. So, name the 4 voices: soprano, alto, tenor, bass. I hope you guys remembered that one. That's a pretty important one. Okay, so the 2 marks for that. What interval would you transpose the E flat clarinet into? And the answer is down a major 6th, okay? Because you're going from C down to E flat, that's a major 6th. Okay, now the big one here, the transposition, so expanding this. So how the marks are going to work is for every little mistake you made, you knock off 1 mark. So for example, if you put the wrong clef in, take a mark off. If because of that you also put in the wrong key signature, take another mark off. If you put in the wrong note and you didn't transpose it into the right, and every single note is wrong, take a mark off for each one of those mistakes. Okay, sounds brutal, but it'll teach you to always check what you're supposed to transpose into and do accordingly. So I have the viola and the cello down here, and those are concert pitch instruments, so I don't need to change anything. So these, I just basically write them out in the new way, and I've got the alto clef here. If you wrote this out on the bass clef and it worked out just okay for you, I'll let it slip. You can get away with that, but if you, you know, I'm not going to get too upset about that so much. But if you missed the time signatures or you didn't put in the key signature, then take a mark off for each of those, and make sure that you had the brace and it looks, you know, accurate. Did your notes all line up at the time that they're coming in together? Or are they all displaced? Because that's a common thing, is you might put this over there when it's actually supposed to come in here. And you should try to line up the note to where they come in on the beats. Okay, next up. Did you transpose these 2 lines into the proper key? So you take the starting key and then you transpose down. Okay, so this is down a major 2nd and this is down a perfect 5th. Because the French horn in F is down a perfect 5th and the B flat trumpet is down a major 2nd. Okay, so if you did all that, then you get 15 out of 15. Good job. And if not, then try again. You know, this is a pretty intense little question here, so, but, you know, I hope you guys did it and you could handle it nicely. That would make me very happy if you could. So make sure you leave me lots of comments and let me know how you did, so, because I'm very curious about these exams, how people are doing them and how they're finding them. So leave me lots of comments about what you liked, what you had trouble with, and you know what exercises or questions were sort of clear and which ones were like unclear or whatever. I try to make them as clear and straightforward as possible and try to make them fair so people don't feel like, you know, they're getting cheated or like they're like, oh well, I didn't know you were gonna ask me that. So I'm trying to be as clear about everything as possible. So hopefully you like it. Okay, now let's go on to the next one. Okay, so we're on the final one now. Okay, so let's check the answers. All right, so E major 5, 6, 7 is D sharp, F sharp, A, B. Okay, G minor is 7 diminished. G minor 7 diminished 4, 2 is E flat, F sharp, A, C. B major is of the 5, 4, 3. Is a C sharp, E, F sharp, A sharp. Then D minor 5, 7 is A, C sharp, E, G. Okay, then moving along, next is D flat major, 7 diminished 7 is C, E flat, G flat, A. Okay, all right. Now moving along down here, we have scales. So this one here is a major pentatonic scale. And it's not in its original mode. The A actually goes down there. So I did that to kind of mess with you guys, but you probably picked up on it. Next one, and if you didn't, that's fine too. It's all good. I might have missed it as well. When I was doing my theory exams before, I think I missed one of the scales that they showed me in the exam, and I'm like, oh, after I was like, oh, I failed. It was like a whole tone scale too, so I was just like, man, what was I thinking? Anyway, so it's all good. Next up, we have minor blues scale, and so it starts on A. So it's just dun 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 dun. That's why I had to add the A, because I was just like, man, you can't have a minor blues scale without that last one. Anyway, okay, so 5 marks off for each one of those if you got it wrong, or 5 marks given to you if you got it, and then 2 marks for each one of those. Alright, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. Now I'm just going to move along and say a little bit about the end of the course. And this concludes the Learn Free Music Theory series. I wanted to say a quick thank you, and I know some people would say, "Oh, well, we should be thanking you," but really, it's really been an honor and such a privilege to be part of your guys' life, and letting me having the opportunity to teach you guys something that you might have not known before, and the position basically to kind of help someone get into music and hopefully start a lifelong journey and love for music is such a big honor to me, because I think music is such an important and just beautiful part of life. Like, I couldn't imagine living life without music. And so being able to share that with people is really a big honor to me, and I really feel happy that I can help some people out there. And so thank you very much for watching, and I really do wish you the best. I want every one of you to go on and really enjoy your life, and please be kind to others, and if you learn something and that you think you can help someone else, share it. Okay? Don't hold back stuff because you want to make money off of it, or because you want to have power over people. If you have something that other people could use, and you know it's not a big deal for you to just share what you know, then go ahead and share it with people, because that's a big problem in our world today, is that people are very commercialized, they're very greedy, and they want money, and that's all they care about, is they think, oh, money equals happiness, so if I make other people, you know, if I mess over other people, then I get more money and then I'm happier. No, because we're all together in this world right now, and we need to look out for each other, we need to watch each other's backs, and also we shouldn't be trying to one-up everyone else, okay? We should be trying to share what we know and create a better world for everyone, not just ourselves. That's very selfish, and that's also very childish. When people are young and they don't know very much, the instinctual thing to do is to be selfish. But something that's mature is to be more selfless, and to be able to help others when you can. Now, I'm not saying, you know, sell everything you own and give away every piece of food you have, because you have to live too. But where you have extra and you don't need, and you think you can help someone, and you see someone that, you know, could need that, then you should do something to help out. And so I saw a need online that people, you know, they wanted to learn music theory, but they couldn't afford it, or they were scared to try it out, or whatever. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll do this and I'll help people out. So it did put me out of my comfort zone. There's a few things that I had forgotten, so I had to go back and relearn some of the stuff, because you don't use all of this in everyday music life. But I don't regret it, and I really, really hope that you guys found it helpful, and I hope it did actually impact your guys' lives. And thank you so much for all the wonderful messages and emails that you guys all send. I am really like such a lucky guy. I get thanked for doing something that I like to do. So thank you very much, and I hope you guys are going to go on and do great things in life. Take care, and I will figure out what kind of next project I'm going to do. But this is the end of Learn Free Music Theory. Okay? So, I guess I'll see you in the next video that I make. Bye!